Hey y'all, this is Stacy with the Craft Room Diaries. Today we'll be working on this layout documenting just our family game nights from the early stages of COVID back in March and April. What I decided to do was combine a whole bunch of different nights into one, just all the different games that we played over the course, pretty much one a week. We were taking a night and playing games. I'd also, over the past few months, just pulled a few different cards, and I even documented on one of them. So I'm going to be working with this. I may actually redo some of these because I'm not sure how that's going to lay out, but let's get started. So lately I've been working on really not overthinking things. And this card that I wanted to use, it says real life looks like this. Unfortunately, the arrow points up instead of down, which just wasn't working for me. So I am going to redo that card, and I'll show you how I do that. Also, the currently card that I had even journaled on way back in March, the color scheme, I'm pretty much of a stickler about color schemes and things, just an overall visual effect of the colors going well together. So I'm going to probably rework that one as well. So I'll show you how to do that. I usually do this just directly in my word processing program. I am using a Mac, but I do know that you can do the same thing using Windows. Once you have your document open, go to page setup, and you're going to change the size of your paper. In a Mac, it's manage custom sizes. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I'm going to set this as 4x6, and I'm going to put it in landscape. Oops, it didn't end up in landscape mode. So I'm going to go back and just change the orientation of the paper. So I'll have a 4x6 card, 4x6 size template to work on. You can do pretty much anything with this. So first I'm going to reduce the margins down. I don't actually need a full inch of margin, so I'm going to reduce that to 0.25 inch. And then I'm going to use the same phrase that was on the card, just type that in, and then I'm going to center it, enlarge it, change the font. You can pretty much make this however you want. I'm just basically going off of pretty much making it just like the card that I had before, which I'm not really sure where that came from. I'm also going to find an arrow. I wish you could see the actual things at the top of my screen. It didn't, for some reason it cut that off. But I'm going to find an arrow. I didn't even realize that they had that many graphics in here, but I'm going to find an arrow and adjust it, make it point down, make it so that the arrow's pointing down. And then I'm going to just size it up the way I want it, change the color of it so that it pretty much looks like the card that I started with, but just a little bit with the arrow pointing down is the way I wanted it. Once it's done, I'm just going to send this over to the printer. I just cut a piece of cardstock down to 4x6 and slipped that into my printer to print this on, to create a 4x6 card. And I decided to do the same thing with the other card that I had that said documenting the good parts. Again, it's just a color thing for me. The colors weren't going to work with the color scheme that I was going with on this layout. So I'm going to do the same thing. I just changed the format, the paper size of the one that I had before. I changed it to 3x4. I know not all printers will accept 3x4. I have a little Canon IP110 that will pretty much take any paper size from 3x4 all the way up to 8x10, 8.5 by 11. So it's really neat to be able to, just print on whatever size I want. So I'm going to reformat, set up that card as well. And then I like having lines. I don't know about you, but if I'm handwriting something, I always feel like I need to have lines. Otherwise, I just can't write straight. So I did add in some lines. And with the lines as well, I ended up changing the colors on those lines so that they were, just to give it a little bit of pop, I think I changed them to red. What I find neat about making my own cards is that I can print it on pattern paper. So I used just a lightly patterned paper just to give it a little bit of interest. I printed the documenting the good part actually on the back of that same paper because it wasn't pure white. And I reworked that currently card, which again, the color scheme just wasn't working out for me, and printed that on the back side as well. So all of those colors really come in together. And, building my own cards, I just pulled some scraps of paper just to tie in some of the colors that I'm going to be layering those, that domino card and the Deuce of Hearts card on. I just thought it fit well with it being a game night. I do love buying products just as much, probably just as much as the next guy. But I also like building my own. I think it gives me an outlet for creativity. I've been trying really hard not to overthink things and to just stay focused on my purpose, which is just documenting our lives in a fun and attractive manner. And I think sometimes just if I have my mind focused on what I want and how I want the outcome to be, it's a lot faster for me to just create something than it is for me to dig through a bunch of products and so forth that I have. Oh, and this is a public service announcement about why you should clean your stamps after. My scrappy friend Nicole always fusses about me not cleaning my stamps. And when I went to use these, they would not stamp red. They only wanted to stamp black. So I had to spend a good bit of time cleaning them off so that I could get these numbers stamped in red. So clean your stamps, people. So I don't know about y'all, but a lot of things were quite different, of course, especially during the spring, March, April, May, with all the stay-at-home orders. And family game night kind of became one of those things that we I don't want to say made ourselves do, but we made plans to do it every week. You know, I had both of my kids home. Both of them, they're 20 years old, my son and daughter, and one of them was at college, and she's a super social person, always active, always involved. So it was so different for her. And I just started seeing her, just really seemed to be really isolated. It was hard on her. And my son, of course, he's into video games, so he could really just stay in his room and play video games all day, which I didn't want him to do that either. So the family game, we made a point of doing family game night. I hope you guys did some different things, but it's different. It's just been a little different documenting that, which is why I kind of grouped all of these games together. But my family's so competitive. I even wanted to make sure that I documented our score sheet because somebody's got to have bragging rights, right? My daughter and I, we actually won a card game against my husband and my son, which it doesn't happen that often. But to finish this up, I added a few chipboard badges and just a few more pops of color just to kind of tie everything together. But I really like the way this layout came out. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and even learned a few new tricks. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and share it with a scrappy friend. And if you're a new visitor to my channel, please consider subscribing. I hope you visit the Craft Room Diaries again soon, and I hope you're having a happy, scrappy day.